Hey everybody, I just got my brand new Windows Vista PC and wanted to test out Windows Movie Maker with this video idea I had where I talk about this video being sponsored by Factor. Factor brings you fresh, never frozen, chef-crafted, and dietitian-approved meals straight to your doorstep. I find it to be a great alternative to poor food choices you can easily make with a hectic schedule. It's too easy to just grab unhealthy fast food or skip lunch entirely. But Factor makes it so easy to stay on target with ready-to-eat meals from the microwave in 2 minutes, tasting like they came straight from a restaurant. Factor gives you 100 plus rotating weekly options to pick from, giving you such a wide variety of meals, now featuring double the seafood and protein options compared to last year. And Factor meals are made without refined seed oils, refined sugars, artificial colors, or artificial sweeteners. These things taste good and they make me feel good. It's a win-win-win. The third win was for my Windows Vista PC getting a workout right now thanks to Factor. Head to Factor75.com or click the link below and use code STASHFB50 to get 50% off your first Factor box, plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code STASHFB50 at Factor75.com to get 50% off, plus free breakfast for 1 year.
Oh boy, how am I gonna talk myself out of this one? Yeah, so I own every Super Smash Bros. Amiibo and a couple others. I wouldn't necessarily say I am a huge Amiibo fan. I know, like, what? I would say their spell worked on me, and I got into collecting these for a while. But to be perfectly honest, I think I kinda mostly fell for the Smash Brothers line. And outside of that one, I did not really fall victim to the Amiibo virus. So I just kind of want to go over what I have here and just my general experience with the figure line, because it is still a part of Nintendo. You know, they keep releasing Amiibo. You know, some years they may not release a ton, and then other years, like, oh wow, for some reason we're back doing this now, huh? Listen, man, I've never been a figurine guy. I don't even put up, like, posters on my wall much. You know, I usually like the games to speak for themselves. I got enough crap on these walls. You know, I got some things here and there, but for the most part, I kind of decorate my walls with the games. Not, I don't know, this fucking thing. But when Amiibo were announced at E3 2014, and the first thing shown off was, you know, the Smash Brothers line of Amiibo and their functionality within Smash Brothers, I think that was the first kind of hook for me, where I was like, damn, that's pretty cool. One of my favorite side things to do in Smash Brothers was collect all the trophies in something like Melee, Brawl, and eventually Smash for 3DS and Wii U. And I love that once you'd complete Classic Mode in those games, you would get a trophy, at least in Brawl and Smash 4, of the character in their character select screen pose. And you could kind of like spin it around. You could see a 3D model of the character select screen pose. And firstly, I just straight up love all of the Smash Brothers character artwork. I think it is so damn fun and so damn cool to see how are they representing these gaming icons in one single pose. And it's important because this character artwork is gonna be heavily associated with that character for decades to come. You know, I still see the fucking Mario Brawl artwork. So not only do I just straight up love, like, all of these poses, and I think these are such cool pieces of, like, artwork or poses for these characters, but also just the mere fact that Amiibo for Smash Brothers for Wii U was designed to look exactly like the trophies you collect in-game. So you have that trophy horde in the trophies section of Smash for Wii U. And, you know, like, you can even, like, go all the way back to, like, Smash Brothers Melee. You know, everybody remembers the trophy horde in that game. How, like, you'd have all these trophies all around this, like, game room or something. So, that's the thing. Like, that was already iconic, and Nintendo was pretty much announcing, like, hey, we're gonna do those in real life. Like, you're gonna get, like, trophies of all these Smash Brothers characters, and they're all gonna have, like, the Smash Brothers bases and stuff. It was very compelling. Not sure how compelling the in-game support of Amiibo was, though. For the most part, Amiibo kind of seemed like it was something Nintendo was doing because all of these other companies were experiencing this giant success with toys to life. You know, you had Skylanders, Disney Infinity, and Lego Dimensions was coming out in 2015. So it almost seemed like something Nintendo felt like they just had to do. It wasn't necessarily like, oh my god, we have this incredible idea. We need to make a Little Mac figure and then you could scan it into a game. Like, no, I think they saw that this was a booming success and they had the characters, the IP, the franchises to really do well in this medium. And they did! But it didn't really have to do with the in-game functionality. There were like only a couple of instances where I would say, like, oh, people bought amiibo for game. Like Animal Crossing New Horizons, that might be about it. But I wasn't buying this specifically for in-game functionality. Well, to be fair, the first one that I bought was, oh, wow, yeah, okay, I'm so cool and original. When I bought Smash for Wii U, I bought it on Amazon with a GameCube controller, the GameCube controller adapter, and I decided why the hell not, I would add one amiibo to the lot because I was really excited about Smash Brothers and I was a die-hard Wii U supporter, so I was like, well, of course, yeah, I'll get one amiibo, you know, it's the new thing, so I might as well. So I got that, and, you know, I would play around with it in-game, and it was cool. I always thought the Smash Brothers functionality with Amiibo, it's not the most exciting thing in the world. It isn't the most compelling thing, but I think it is definitely a very solid use of the Toys to Life figures, where it's not necessarily really locking you out of a ton of content. You know, it's not like, oh, you have to buy these figures to get some substantial Smash Brothers content. Like, no, it's more so like, hey, you're training your amiibo to fight like you, and you want to get it to level 50, and then you can bring it to your friend's house and have them fight your friend. I honestly found that to be a very smart use of these figures, and I think there are some rumors early on that the amiibo could unlock the unlockable characters for you. Which, I mean, as long as you could still unlock the characters in-game without buying an amiibo, I think that would have been a perfectly fine way to unlock the characters, but I don't think that's actually in the final game. But overall, yeah, you know, like, I bought Mario, and I was pretty satisfied with Mario, and, yeah, you know, that was it. I ended up going into Target one day, and I walked by the amiibo section, and I saw some other amiibo figures there. And I remember seeing, like, videos from other people and whatnot, just kind of, like, talking about, you know, buying some amiibo, and, you know, they did look kind of cool. You know, I already had one, and I was kind of thinking, it's just like, well, you know, I already trained up Mario, so, you know, obviously, like, you know, I could get another one or something, you know? I think I ended up grabbing Yoshi because that made the logical sense, you know, oh, it's Mario's partner in crime, Yoshi. Of course, yeah, let's do Yoshi. So this was all in like November, early December of 2014. And they initially launched with a handful of amiibo, about a dozen amiibo for the first wave. And 3 of the amiibo in that first wave were Wii Fit Trainer, Marth, and Villager. And the thing with those was that they were kind of rarer because, you know, they were obviously like the less iconic characters. Like Villager is like, you know, part of Animal Crossing. Everybody loves Animal Crossing, but you know, Villager, it's the basic default-ass Villager. That's not the most compelling character in the world to buy a figure of, and, you know, the same could be said about Wii Fit Trainer. Wii Fit was an incredibly popular series, but who the f*** is gonna buy merchandise for that? Then Marth. It's Marth. Those 3 definitely made sense being the less common figures of the first wave. And I remember seeing at that Target Wii Fit Trainer there probably a couple of times. And I thought about it here and there. I was kind of like, do I want to get Wii Fit Trainer? I was currently still in the state of my amiibo collecting phase where I thought, okay, I'll get another one and maybe I'll get another one on top of that, you know, just get some of the characters I really like. You know, like, I have childhood connections to Mario and Yoshi. Yeah, sure, I'll get Mario and Yoshi. Wii Fit Trainer, like, I'm not gonna do anything with Wii Fit Trainer. And honestly, at this point, I kind of wanted to get the characters that I thought were also really cool figures as well. And Wii Fit Trainer is one of the more lackluster figures from the first wave. It's such a thin, tiny kind of sculpt here, and unfortunately, you know, one thing that they had to do with a lot of these amiibo, because they are based on poses that weren't initially designed to be figures on a base, Wii Fit Trainer unfortunately has this interesting leg cast on, and I think that was kind of like a big problem with a lot of the initial characters, or just a lot of the characters in general, part of the Smash Brothers line. You know, you go over to Donkey Kong here. You know, I always really liked the Donkey Kong figure. I loved how detailed and well sculpted, like, his fur is. Then you go over and he just has a giant icicle stuck up his ass. One of the most notorious is Link here, who, you know, he's obviously in a weird pose to be on a figure like this. Like, the only thing of his that's sticking onto the base is just the very tip of his toe there. So they had to give him this yellow, like, brick. It almost looks like a Lego brick or something, but a lot of people online have very lovingly referred to this as Link's piss stand. You know, Fox has, like, this little purple thing holding him up, which at least it looks cooler than the piss stand. But, you know, you can just kind of see a lot of these characters just kind of have some very odd things propping them up. And I think just based on, like, production logistics, some of them are colored, some of them are colored different colors, some of them are clear. For the most part, I don't really recall a ton of amiibo figures having different weirdly colored things propping them up, like some of them from the first wave did. So I think this was kind of like the Growing Pains era. There was just some things where it's like they just had to make a compromise here or there based on the flow of production. I don't know what the hell happened where they had to give Link a yellow fucking stand, but they had to give Link a yellow fucking stand. As the weeks went on into 2014, however, as much as I was kind of picking away at the amiibo that were becoming available at the stores, and I was kind of like, oh yeah, I'll buy this one. Oh, I'll buy that one. All right. By the beginning of 2015, I think I fully committed to wanting the entire Smash Brothers line. And that was unfortunate. Collecting amiibo back in the day was honestly really enjoyable, even if to some extent it was very defeating, because you would go into a store and 99% of the time they would never have anything interesting. It would always be the core characters that you'd always see. You know, you'd always see Mario, you'd always see Link, you'd always see Pikachu and Kirby and Peach, and that was pretty much always it. And I remember fans were incredibly frustrated with Nintendo at that time because a lot of the characters that they really wanted were just not well stocked. And pre-ordering these was a nightmare. Fans would go lining up at Toys R Us's or GameStops early in the morning just to get pre-orders for these $12.99 figures. It was insane. I never did any of that. But, you know, it was very fun to follow everything. I remember checking out GameStop in the dead of winter in, like, January, February, because I heard they got a couple of new amiibo in, and I remember seeing Bowser. They had Bowser, which was kind of cool, but it's Bowser, you know. This was going to be a very common amiibo going forward. I'd say the only amiibo that I saw in the wild at a store that was kind of like, wow, what the f***? Why is this here? It was Ness. I was at a GameStop one day in 2015, and they had a Ness in stock on the amiibo shelf. This was a pretty hard to find amiibo back in the day. But, of course, near the end of 2015, Nintendo kind of got the amiibo stock figured out. And unfortunately, around that time, I think the amiibo craze kind of just fizzled out. You know, a character like Shulk. Shulk was like a GameStop exclusive figure for a bit there. Stupidly hard to get a hold of, stupidly hard to find, all of that crap. But eventually, in late 2015, Nintendo, like, over-ordered on all of these very hard to find amiibo. So by the end of 2015, you could walk into, like, a Toys R Us, and the walls were flooded with amiibo. And it wasn't just the ones that were super common, like Mario or whatever. Like, it was like, oh my god, you had all these Palutenas, you had all these Shulks, you had all these Nesses available, you had all these characters available. It was insane. Now, as much as it was really frustrating to be an amiibo collector back in 2015, I do kind of miss how a lot of characters and a lot of amiibo were just really hard to find. I think that added to this feeling of like a hunt. It made it exciting. It kind of joined everybody together as a bit of a community thing. And I know it kind of sucked because it was like, oh my god, I can't get this figure that I want. But it's also like, these are $12.99 figures that have barely any in-game functionality anybody gives a shit about. You just want this plastic piece of garbage that's just gonna sit on your shelf and do nothing. Now believe me, I think it was ridiculous how hard to get these things were. But I do kind of like how it was kind of an adventure to find some of these things. it just made amiibo that much more exciting, because at this point it is definitely a lot more like, hey, like, I'm just gonna pick up the amiibo I want, which is a much healthier mindset, mind you. I don't feel any pressure to buy an amiibo I don't want just because, oh, that amiibo is rare, oh, that amiibo is even rarer, this one's hard to find, or whatever. Which is a good mentality to have. I don't need any of these things. But I'd be lying if I said it wasn't fun. Like, that's part of the fun of, like, collecting cards or whatever, you know? Like, if you have a binder full of baseball cards, what's gonna be the one you point out to people? You're gonna point out the one that's like, oh, this one is really hard to find, and I pulled this one randomly, and it was so exciting. So, long story short, I think we're in a healthy place now, which is good, but sometimes it's fun to be a little unhealthy. Now, here's the weird thing about talking about my amiibo collection. It's kind of dumb to talk about my amiibo collection because looking at all of these, this is just all the Smash Brothers ones. What is there to go over? You know all the Smash Brothers characters. I know all the Smash Brothers characters. I'm not gonna go like, oh yeah, Captain Falcon. Oh, and Jigglypuff. Oh, and Peach. I've done like a video on Scott Stash going over like my entire like Nintendo Switch game collection at that point in time. And I feel more compelled to go through every game because there's stuff to say about every game. I can say stuff about these games. These are little toys, man. So I'm going to talk about my Smash Brothers collection as a whole and any little oddities I have about this, or anything that I can kind of think of that I think is worth talking about. And then we'll go over some of the extras that I have, and then we'll also go over some of the ones that I decided to keep in box. So as you can see, I have this wooden staircase kind of display unit for my amiibo. And I actually bought this on Etsy, and I've always wanted something like this. I've seen stuff like this available on that website for years now, and unfortunately, it is kind of really hard to find people that are building these things consistently. Sometimes you might be able to run into them, so I don't even remember who did this one specifically, but every time I've kind of looked for like new amiibo shelves or anything like that, it's honestly really hard to find them, especially at the size that this is. I wanted something that would cover the entire Smash Brothers line, and I wanted a staircase unit, and I also wanted little indents shaped like the Smash Brothers bases for all of the characters to just kind of fit into. That's what I always wanted. I always saw stuff like this on Etsy, and thankfully, around the time that I was finally like, f it, I'm gonna get this, there was a really nice one available. Now, this one is definitely a very kind of, rough and raw unit. It's not painted, and I think I actually need to go in and re-glue some of these things, so this isn't necessarily the most stable thing in the world, but it does work, and I know I can kind of like give it a little bit of TLC, bring it back up to speed, possibly even like kind of paint it a whole like maybe like a black color or something like that. But I've been pretty okay with this. It's done exactly what I've wanted it to do. I know other people have used like spice racks, I believe, for displaying their amiibo. And then there are all kinds of like other like officially licensed Nintendo licensed amiibo shelving units and stuff. Like I know there was like a famous one that like looked like the staircase at the end of a Mario level or something. And those are cute, but I wanted something that would cover like the entire Smash Brothers line. I think it's pretty crazy that there hasn't been like an officially released display where you could just house all of your different Smash Brothers amiibo. I know in Japan they had like a Smash Brothers and Kirby amiibo diorama set that you could buy, which was kind of neat. But I wanted a staircase thing where you could see all the amiibo, and a big thing is I wanted to have the little indents where you could put your amiibo into, because I didn't want them sliding all around and everything. So I'm pretty happy with that. But I will say, something that I am very proud of is ever since the Smash for Wii U days, I have always wanted to organize these characters by their introduction into the Smash Brothers series, i.e. how the characters are numbered and organized in Smash Brothers Ultimate. I was organizing these characters like that well before Smash Brothers Ultimate. I actually discovered that in the instruction manual for Smash Brothers for Wii U. When you open this up and it goes through all of the different characters, they are organized in a very particular way, and I kind of thought to myself, huh, why are they organized in this way? Oh, it's Mario, Donkey Kong, Link, Samus, Yoshi. Okay, well that's actually the order of how the characters were in Smash 64. And then I go over here and I'm like, wait a second, okay, Jigglypuff, and then it goes to Peach and then Bowser, and I kind of thought back to the Smash Brothers Melee opening sequence, and I'm like, wait a second, Peach appears in that, and then Bowser appears afterwards. And I think that's when I realized, I'm just like, wait, this is the numbering of when these characters appeared in Smash. But yes, I am very proud of myself, so proud, immensely proud, that I understood the assignment before Nintendo ever issued the assignment and showed that the Smash Brothers numbering system matters in Smash Ultimate. Now, I do personally have some more personal ways I organize these. So the way Smash Ultimate does things is they put the Echo Fighters of characters right next to the character they're the Echo Fighter of. So we have something like Dark Samus over here. On the character select screen of Smash Ultimate, Dark Samus is just right next to Samus. I don't f with that. Dark Samus was revealed after Chrom, who was revealed after Richter, so that's where Dark Samus goes. And also, I made this Smash for 3DS and Wii U first, and then we start introducing all the characters that were reintroduced in Smash Ultimate. Primarily because, like, yeah, Snake was introduced in Brawl, which would put him, let's see, like right after Wario over here. Yeah, so technically Snake would be over there. But I don't really like mixing and matching the Smash Ultimate and Smash 4 amiibo, just because, like, I'm like, this is Smash 4, and then we go into Ultimate. So I'm just like, I kind of like the fact that, like, yeah, even though Pichu appeared in Melee, this is the Ultimate version of Pichu, so I'm putting him with the rest of the Ultimate characters, and they're all ordered by when they were introduced for Smash Ultimate. So, yeah, that was really embarrassing to say all of that. And then all the characters at the end here are all kind of the alternate Smash Brothers amiibo. So this is another embarrassing thing that I did. The whole cool thing about the Mr. Game & Watch amiibo is the fact that you can take him off and then you can replace him with a couple of different poses. The thing that always bugged me was how I just had like these spare Game & Watch poses. They were all just kind of lying around because they just kind of came like that in the box. Like, it was like, oh, you get this figure with this base, and then 3 other poses that were just kind of lying around. So what I did was I actually just bought, like some spare Game & Watch amiibo bases on eBay. So then all these extra poses, I can just, they're no longer just laying around where the hell ever. So that's an embarrassing thing that I did. I have 3 extra Game & Watch amiibo bases that I bought separately. Then we also have the gold Mega Man amiibo. This was included in the Mega Man Legacy Collection Collector's Edition for the 3DS. This is like a cool amiibo based solely on the fact that it's like, oh, it's gold. That's interesting, isn't it? It doesn't do anything unique. I don't even think like when you scan it into a game, it has like anything special about it. Like, it doesn't read as like, oh, this is a gold Mega Man or anything. Like, no, it doesn't do anything special. It's literally just like, just the Smash Brothers Mega Man amiibo, but it's gold. We have Famicom Rob over here. I do really like that they did some special little recolors of the different amiibo, but I didn't really want to put them like right next to each other because I kind of want this to be almost like, you know, my very own character select screen, you know? And I'm just kind of like, well, I'm going to put all of the recolors and all the special little alts at the very end. So we also have like these special Player 2 amiibos. This is a very weird thing that they did. Cloud, Corrin, and Bayonetta were the final characters released for Smash Brothers for 3DS and Wii U DLC. And they announced when they were talking about these characters in like December 2015 that, oh yeah, Amiibo will come for them. And they didn't launch until the summer of 2017. Like, it took forever. So I assume they kind of wanted to like do like a little something extra for them. And they probably looked at the fact that like, oh, all 3 of these characters have more like unique alternate costumes. So they were like, well, let's do amiibo of their alternate costumes as well. So we have Advent Children Cloud, and then we have female Corrin, which I think this was like one of the most rare or expensive amiibo for a bit there. And then Bayonetta 1 ass Bayonetta. And then in addition, we have Alex at the very end. For some reason, they did Steve, and you got Steve in like a dual pack with Alex. I think that must have been like a stipulation in the contract where they're like, if you're doing a Steve amiibo, you gotta do Alex too. Sorry. Which is cool, but it just kind of makes me look at all the characters that didn't get like an alternate costume amiibo and go kind of like, oh. You know, we didn't get all the extra Koopalings with Bowser Jr. We didn't get all the other versions of Hero from Dragon Quest. There's like Joker's school uniform, the different versions of Sora, and you know, there's all kinds of other things. There was like Alf. You know, it was like an alternate costume for Olimar. So that is a shame, but I almost kind of like the fact that they were kind of like, all right, like, we're not going to do everything possible. We're not going to milk the crap out of this thing. I think if Nintendo really wanted to milk the crap out of this thing, they could have re-released all of the Smash 4 characters in their Smash Bros. Ultimate poses. That would have been hell. I don't think I would have done that. I just think the fact that they actually got through all of the characters for Smash Brothers was kind of a feat, and I think that was very, very cool that Nintendo did that. Oh wow, that's so cool that Nintendo released nearly 100 toys that I ate the fuck up. But it's like Smash Brothers doesn't really get like merchandise because it's kind of like, you know, like the whole thing with Smash Brothers, it's a bunch of different franchises. Like, what merchandise do you release other than like a Smash Ball on something? But I think it is really damn cool. I love Smash Brothers so much, so to have like all of the characters in this kind of trophy form, I think it's pretty damn cool. Thinking of other things to note, you know, obviously the quality of these amiibo have drastically improved over time. Like I said, you take a look at something like Link here, and the Link amiibo always kind of looked a little weird. I always found that the very humanoid characters, the very detailed humanoid characters, always kind of came across as like the worst. Like, I always found that the Smash Brothers Peach amiibo looked like a Polly Pocket. A lot of the characters with swords, you know, they had to make sure the swords were like super bendy. Which I understand, you know, toy-wise, you know, you don't want something super sharp. But, you know, just the fact that, like, they were so flimsy meant that over time, or even straight out of the packaging, the swords would be kind of curved or bent and just kind of look a little dumb. But then you go from Smash 4 to something like, I mean, like, look at Sephiroth from Smash Ultimate. And it's just such a big honkin' amiibo with a ton of detail here. And I think it's kind of interesting. They started to actually create more like elaborate little like ways to prop the character up. So the Banjo-Kazooie one has like a little jiggy that he's just kind of standing on, you know, and that's not a part of the official Banjo-Kazooie Smash Brothers artwork. So, you know, they added that to just kind of prop him up. The quality of these things has just drastically improved. Hell, even like with Min Min, they make it so then like the thing kind of propping her up is almost like these like action waves or something like that, you know, like it's just really interesting, and just kind of the attention to detail is astonishing in these newer amiibo. Of course, you look at the price of modern amiibo, and yeah, they're definitely very nice, but my god! But I will definitely say, around the time they were releasing amiibo for Smash Ultimate, I was definitely kind of buying most of these amiibo out of obligation, out of a feeling of like, I'm already in it this far. And a lot of these amiibo I actually just kind of bought like online later down the line. I would just look on Amazon and I'd be like, all right, like let's pick up Sora, let's pick up Kazuya. Well, sometimes I definitely overpaid for amiibo just because I didn't really care about trying to track them down or anything. Like, I'm like, sure, I'll pay $5-10 extra bucks, just get this damn amiibo, get it in my cart, get it over with. But I kind of want to wrap up the Smash Brothers line by just talking about some of the characters that I always really liked. I always thought the Captain Falcon amiibo was very well done. You know, this is a humanoid character, and I think, you know, this being like a human character, like I said, like in these early waves, you definitely kind of had a very kind of iffy quality with the human characters. And I think that mostly came down to their eyes and their face. You'll get somebody like Link, and his eyes are painted on, so I think there's definitely more wiggle room for the face to just not come out right. You know, the eyes could be like slightly off or lopsided, or maybe like he looks a little cross-eyed, or the eyes aren't printed well or something. Captain Falcon having a mask 100% helps that. He has this giant pole sticking up his thigh, which I honestly find is more charming, if anything. Just a really well done amiibo right there. But then we also have Dr. Mario. You know what I really just like about this figure? The shininess of the pill. I don't know. I'm easy to please. I always really like the fur texture on some of these amiibo, like with Fox, Donkey Kong, even like Wario. I just love the texture of his jacket and just kind of seeing like the very fine details. Like you zoom in and you just see like these very small little bumps to kind of represent the denim. Just seeing like the Hurry Up WarioWare logo on the jacket, I just thought was like a really nice touch. And everything just felt very high quality. Even just seeing that, like, oh, like his helmet is a little shinier. Like, I don't know. I always really, really appreciated that. Olimar, I always really liked because of his helmet, which is kind of like, again, like I'm kind of easy to please. Just seeing like, you know, his clear helmet was really cool. Of course, like the Pikmin look okay. I think the Pikmin, you know, are kind of in a weird position because it's like they're such small creatures. So, you know, the sculpts on them, like their arms and hands look really fat. And then you can also see like they have like some gold things kind of propping them up. But still, always really like the Olimar amiibo. Always a sucker for the third-party amiibos, so Sonic, Mega Man, Pac-Man, all of that. I always loved the Sonic Smash Ultimate pose with him running. So that was really cool. Mega Man being all shiny. Again, like whenever a character is kind of shiny, that just got me going. King Dedede. I love how the bigger characters have some weight to them. Like it's almost like they made sure to like, okay, like Bowser is heavy, so Bowser needs to be a heavier amiibo. King Dedede is heavy, he needs to be a heavier amiibo. I love the detail of his hammer, like kind of having like a bit of like weathering to it. I don't know, like they really did a good job with a lot of these. Rob, you know, just having like a miniature version of Rob, it is almost kind of like coming full circle. The fact that like Rob was initially meant to be this accessory for the original NES where you could have like a computer friend to play with. And, you know, you go over to the Rob Smash Brothers amiibo and you scan it into Smash Brothers and you have a computer opponent that you can play with. Which is just, it's cute. like, I'm not gonna act like, you know, like, oh wow, like they thought about that when they made the Rob amiibo. They obviously made the Rob amiibo because they were making them for all the other Smash Brothers characters. But I just thought that was really cool. But just seeing like this miniature version of Rob, it's just neat, man. And then the Famicom version as well. It's just, it's cool that they ended up releasing that here in North America. And then the Smash Ultimate amiibo, I don't really have a ton of like massive feelings about them other than like I love the quality of them. Man, I usually kind of go towards the bigger characters. I think the bigger characters are really cool. So like King K. Rool, again, like a nice heavy amiibo and his gold-plated belly. It's just, it's really neat. It's a really well done amiibo. But again, like I said, like by the time the Smash Ultimate section of the amiibo line hit, like I was kind of buying these out of obligation, and I still like them, and I think they are incredible little figures. But I don't have as much of like a deep connection with them. But in terms of the ones that I never really liked all too much, like I said, I never liked the Peach Smash Brothers amiibo. The Peach Super Mario amiibo is actually pretty good just because like the Mario line of amiibo are just a lot like beefier. They just have more to them. They're designs that were more fitted to be amiibo figures. The Smash Brothers poses, a lot of them work well as amiibo figures. A lot of them don't. Like I said, I just don't really like the characters where like they're tiny. I don't really like it as much. And speaking of Mario characters, Luigi sucks ass. Like I hate this damn boogie board on his legs. It's so bad. Same goes for Sheik and Zelda. It's a lot of the smaller characters like Marth. Like I don't know. Ganondorf is okay. Pit's fine. Zero Suit Samus is a little rough. Again, I do like when they kind of make characters like shiny when they need to, so Samus's like Zero Suit is shiny, which is nice. But just having like this full leg cast there, and the fact that on top of that, again, because Samus is a human character, just very small face, yeah, I'm just like, you know, like it's just like, it isn't a great figure. You know, it almost needs to be bigger. These amiibo need to be bigger if these characters are going to be like human characters like this. Even though, you know, Captain Falcon is good. Oh, Diddy Kong's freaking P stand as well. Diddy Kong's an unfortunate case because I think this character's design works like the least well as an amiibo, because Diddy Kong's design, you know, he has like this mono eye where like there's no separation between his two eyeballs. It's just one big blob. So you look at the Smash 4 Diddy Kong artwork, and it's just like, oh, he's looking at you. Here, it's almost like his eyes are jutting out in like two different directions. I don't know where he's looking. Villager was always an interesting one because the initial print of Villager, his eyes were way too big. It was really bad. His eyes were massive. And then they reprinted him with smaller, more proportionate eyes, but his forehead looks too big now. So you look at the artwork that this is based on, and it's like, they got it better. I think this looks better, but it's almost like you still need to move his eyes just a little bit more up. The Mii fighters, I'm kind of mixed on. I think it's just funny to have Miis as like figures and stuff. But of course, this is just a generic-ass Mii, you know? This is just a generic-ass Mii. This is just a generic-ass Mii. Who the hell cares? You almost kind of wish that Nintendo offered like a service where you could order your own Mii as an amiibo or something. And the fact that these were like Toys R Us exclusives, a part of a 3-pack, it's like, yeah, to be fair, I don't know how the hell else you release these. It's something where it's just like, alright, you gotta release the Miis because you're releasing every character, but it's like, you know, I think it would have been like a pretty expensive operation to give everybody the opportunity to make their own Mii. But it's like, yeah, still. But yeah, that's overall my entire Smash Brothers amiibo collection. That's pretty much everything that I could possibly get. Of course, you know, if they announce new stuff, you know, I'll probably keep buying it. But it's like still, like I'm like, all right, I got through Smash 4, I got through Smash Ultimate. I think I'm done. But see, even during the amiibo craze, I kind of told myself like I'm only really gonna stick to Smash Brothers. But I did kind of around a little bit. So here we have my alternative shelf of amiibo. This was another kind of like amiibo shelving Etsy purchase I made where I could not find any more shelves like these. So I had to make do for like these acrylic things that they're okay, but I still definitely prefer the wooden one. But yeah, these are a lot of the amiibo. I have a couple of others that I have bought over the years that are not Smash Brothers related. And some of these I kind of just bought for video purposes. So, all the Animal Crossing ones, pretty much all of them, were bought for the Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival episode of Scott the Woz. In my opinion, the Animal Crossing Amiibo figures themselves are just not that interesting. Yeah, I like these characters, you know, I like the Animal Crossing characters. But, you know, the ones that you want, if you want Animal Crossing Amiibo, you want the damn cards. The cards are far more interesting, and they do far more unique and special things in the actual Animal Crossing games, like New Leaf and New Horizons, where you scan an Amiibo card and, you know, you can possibly get that character to move into your village. Now, personally, I don't like to do that. I think it's kind of cheating, but at the same time, that is far more compelling than, you know, these characters that cannot move into your village. They're just the NPC characters that work in your village. I'm like, whatever. But yeah, these Animal Crossing Amiibo characters, great. I can play as a huge variety of characters in the board game portion of Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. That's what you can do with these figures. Joy. That was kind of a massive problem that kind of got the amiibo craze to die down a little bit. It's like the Smash Brothers line was like really firing off, and they introduced the Mario line, which was still doing pretty good. They introduced that in like March 2015 to coincide with Mario Party 10. And then they introduced Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival, an Animal Crossing game entirely themed around amiibo. And they launch all these Animal Crossing amiibo and they flood the store shelves, but nobody buys it because nobody fucking wanted Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. And I think Animal Crossing, while it was really, really big, I don't think people were as keen on buying these amiibo if it wasn't tied to a game people were interested in. So yeah, Nintendo definitely overproduced the Animal Crossing amiibo, and they just kind of sat there for years. Nobody wanted the Animal Crossing amiibo. And you know, I think that was when amiibo kind of hit like a point where people were like, okay, like do we really care about this anymore? But a lot of these extra amiibo I bought during kind of like that phase where like amiibo were still kind of hitting it big. So the Splatoon 3-pack. This launched alongside Splatoon in May of 2015. You got the Inkling Girl, Boy, and the Inkling Squid, which was only available via the 3-pack here in North America. A lot of the characters that were only available via 3-packs in North America, like the Mii Fighters or Rob, Duck Hunt, Mr. Game & Watch, those were a part of like a retro 3-pack. They were all available separately in other regions of the world. But the only way you could get the Squid amiibo was via the 3-pack. So I decided to just bite the bullet and get the 3-pack because who cares? Chibi Robo, alright, okay. I hate the game this was released for, which was Chibi Robo Ziplash. I found it interesting that the box this came in, it was smaller since it was a 3DS game, but the amiibo packaging this came in was like this tinier version with like a Chibi Robo logo as like a little cardboard tag at the top. That was weird. But yeah, I do like this amiibo, primarily for the plug. And I like that the plug is too fat to actually fit into an outlet. I do like that. So I have Chibi Robo here. Then we have Shovel Knight, which is the very first third-party amiibo. And I don't own any of the other third-party amiibos. Capcom has done a lot. You know, they did a lot for Monster Hunter. They did a lot for Street Fighter 6 during the Nintendo Switch 2 launch. But this was the very first one that wasn't made by Nintendo. On the Shovel Knight amiibo packaging, it doesn't say Nintendo amiibo. It says licensed by Nintendo amiibo, which is very interesting. You know, that was very weird to see, but I wanted to pick this up because Shovel Knight's an incredible game. I adored Shovel Knight when it released. Weirdly enough, I actually beat the game for the first time on like PS4, so I didn't like beat the game on a Nintendo platform initially, but I still wanted to get the amiibo because it was just so damn cool. Now, I remember seeing like an article or something that said that this amiibo was created in the same factory as like the Disney Infinity figures. And I can definitely tell that like the quality of this figure is definitely not the same as like the Nintendo made ones. This isn't like a bad amiibo or anything, but it just feels different. It feels a little different. The base and stuff looks and feels like an amiibo base to an extent, but like you just kind of analyze the plastics and stuff and kind of the texture of things, and it does feel like a bit of a different little beast. But to be fair, Nintendo didn't produce it, Yacht Club Games did, so that makes sense. And we have the 30th anniversary Super Mario Brothers amiibo released with Mario Maker. I think these are like some of the coolest things ever. Something that I always kind of wanted for amiibo was like them to do like different like game sprites or game models and whatnot. You know, like I think them doing 8-bit Mario, so damn cool. But I would have loved to see like a polygonal Mario 64 model, you know, like the original 3D character model in Mario 64 on a base in real life. I thought that would have been like so cool. But what I really like about the 8-bit Mario ones is how like, yeah, looking at it dead on like this, it is exactly how the sprite looks in the original Super Mario Brothers. But then you move it to the side and everything makes sense with like where Mario is. They had to like figure out like, okay, how does 8-bit Mario look in 3D? And like, yeah, when he moves over here, yeah, that is both of his eyes. And then, you know, like on the back, like, yeah, that's what he looks like from the back. And then that's the back of his head. And then, you know, you go back and that's how the sprite looks. I think it's so cool that they figured that out. How does 8-bit Mario look in 3D? It's just neat. We have Cat Peach here because I bought this for the Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury episode of Scott the Woz. So no real reason for this other than I think it was the one that was on store shelves and I was like, oh, I need to pick this up because I want to show this off in the episode. So not a ton of personal attachment to this one, I swear. But again, this was releasing around the time that like amiibo quality was like getting really good, where it's just like, you know, the fur quality on the cat suit is like, you know, really well detailed. And then in addition, Peach's face just looks so much better than this fucking thing. Holy shit. Then we have two Zelda amiibo. We have the Link's Awakening one. This is one of like the later amiibo that I picked up because I adore Link's Awakening. It's one of my favorite games, one of my favorite Zelda games. And I just thought it was cool that we got this amiibo where he is super toy-like and shiny. You know, the whole thing with Link's Awakening on Nintendo Switch was kind of like, hey, this whole world looks like a diorama, like a little toy set. So to have like this version of Link and he's super, super shiny, almost like this little tin toy kind of thing, I just thought it was really cool. Actually, this was one of the amiibo that I kept in the box for a while, and then I think I accidentally stepped on the box, like as I was moving stuff. Like I crumpled up the box, and I was like, ah, crap. All right, well, I might as well just open this then. So I opened this, and then I found another, like, sealed version of the Link's Awakening amiibo online, because it wasn't expensive. It was probably like 15, 20 bucks or something, and I was like, all right. And finally, on this whole shelving unit, we have the Wolf Link amiibo, which just came bundled with Twilight Princess HD. Every physical copy came with it. Either way, it's a really damn nice amiibo. This is probably the nicest amiibo at the time of its release. And even nowadays, it is still, like, insanely well detailed. One of the bigger amiibos, I think they practically peaked with this back in 2016. But I will definitely say some of my favorite amiibo that released are the Yarn Yoshi amiibo. These are the last ones that I have as a part of this lineup here. Look at these fucking things. This is incredible. I really wish they found more, like, wild ways to release amiibo, kind of like this, where it's just like, hell, let's do plushes. Let's do little yarn plushes. It just made too much sense considering these were released for Yoshi's Woolly World. And the fact that they did, you know, blue and pink too. I probably didn't need all the colors. I just got a little too excited. But yeah, these are definitely probably, like, in my top 5 amiibo. Now, I wouldn't rank all these separately. I'm not going like, oh yeah, the pink and the blue one, or yeah, that's number 5, that's number 4. No, I just say the Yarn Yoshis in general would be in the top 5. These are just so damn cool. It was so exciting when they announced these, and it felt like amiibo could genuinely be anything. And Nintendo's done a couple of cool things with amiibo that are kind of like adjacent to this. Yeah, the Super Mario cereal box, which was a really cool idea. The fact that this box had like a little NFC chip on the back there, and you could scan this into Mario Odyssey. What didn't make this that cool was in-game, it doesn't do a damn thing. All it does is, like, you scan it, and it's like, ooh, is that a delicious amiibo? That's all it does. But like I said, I also have a fair amount of amiibo that are sealed just on the shelf. And a lot of these are just, like, some of my favorite amiibo, or amiibo that I think are kind of cool to have in the box. And I just have these on the shelf, and maybe I'll get some more someday, you know, like, I always kind of wonder, like, if I just have a piss load of money, and I just want to decorate, like, the Blue Border Entertainment office, the one that we film and edit a lot of Scott Stash and stuff in, I'm like, maybe I'll just piss away a lot of my money buying sealed amiibo and just putting that all over the walls, but, you know, maybe someday. Believe me, if that starts happening, that means I genuinely got so bored and I literally make too much money to warrant rebuying all these fucking amiibo just in the damn box. Like, please, like, call somebody. That is a call for help from me if I ever start doing that. But all these Smash Brothers ones that I have versions of sealed in the box, I bought because I really like them, and I bought them sealed back in the day, like 2015 or so. And I wanted to keep them sealed because, like, I liked these specific characters to be in the box. So I got Mario, Sonic, Pac-Man, and Mega Man. Those I got sealed because those were, like, the big 4, like, mascot characters from Smash 4. I thought that was really cool to have them all in the box. And then I got Rob, Little Mac, Captain Falcon, and Fox, just because I really like those characters. I really like those amiibo. Rob was one of my favorite characters in Brawl, and having the Famicom one, like, singular like that, I have that because that was the only way Rob released here in North America as, like, a single figure. Like I said, like, regular gray-ass NES version Rob released as a 3-pack with Duck Hunt and Game & Watch. But then, like, later down the line, you could get a singular version of Famicom Rob. Okay. Little Mac, Punch-Out, I love Punch-Out, and Little Mac in Smash Brothers was a lot of fun back in the day. Captain Falcon and Fox, like, I loved those character designs. I thought they were great amiibo, and just having, like, all 8 of those, like, I was kind of like, I'm happy with that. Those were my 8 amiibo that I wanted sealed, that I just wanted in the packaging, that I could just have on the shelf. And I kept to that for a while, but I got a couple of other amiibo sealed in box. I picked up the 8-bit Mario amiibos, both the modern and retro colors. I picked those up and I wanted those sealed in box. Interestingly, I can see in the box that they are accumulating dust, which is funny. But later on, Nintendo did an 8-bit Link amiibo. I love the 3D 8-bit style that they did for those amiibo especially. So I was like, I gotta pick that up. I didn't pick it up initially. The 8-bit Link amiibo originally launched in like late 2016 to coincide with Zelda's 30th anniversary. And initially, that amiibo had like this 30th anniversary Zelda emblem. But I ended up picking up that amiibo later down the line because they reprinted it. And you can tell they reprinted it because it has that kind of annoying red Nintendo logo next to the amiibo logo, which shows you like this was re-released around like after 2017 or so when Nintendo fully swapped over to that style of branding. But I don't really care. I still think it looks really cool. I also have the Pikmin amiibo that released alongside Hey Pikmin. I don't really give a piss about Hey Pikmin, but I love Pikmin, and the Pikmin amiibo is awesome. I have 2 of the Metroid 2 packs. The first one was released for Metroid Samus Returns, and I never played like enough of Samus Returns. I really need to go back to Samus Returns, but I always really loved this amiibo set. I mean, Samus looks amazing, and then you also have the Metroid amiibo, which is squishy, which is incredible. Problem is, I'm kind of like, oh, this is one of the ones that I'm keeping sealed. I'm keeping it sealed because I have the Metroid Dread twin pack amiibo, and I love Metroid Dread. One of the best games ever made is Metroid Dread, and I got the twin pack there. Such a nice looking amiibo set. Samus's suit, the colors of that just pop so well as an amiibo. Then you have the Emmy from Metroid Dread, just big as f***, just taking up so much room. I love it. Then we have the Link's Awakening amiibo in box. Like I said, originally I crushed the box, so I got a replacement. Then we have the Skyward Sword amiibo, which I kind of just bought on a whim. Like, I really like Skyward Sword. I think it's a great game. But, you know, I just kind of... I think I just was, like, in the store and I just kind of felt like it. It's kind of like how when I was buying Donkey Kong Bonanza, I saw they had a bunch of the Donkey Kong and Pauline amiibo. And I was kind of like, damn, like, I kind of want that. And I picked it up and I thought about it and I put it back up. I'm like, no, I'm good. If I want it, I can pick it up eventually at some other point. And I guess you know, the demons won that day when I picked up the Skyward Sword amiibo and I decided to buy it. Then we have Gold and Silver Mario. I picked these up on eBay more recently just because I was kind of like, you know what? That's kind of fun to own those. I remember these sent people into a frenzy back when these released. Specifically Gold Mario. Gold Mario was never really advertised much by Nintendo themselves. This was like a Walmart exclusive amiibo that people discovered randomly, like one day, like just going in a Walmart store, and then pictures started to appear of like these Mario Party 10 displays where it advertised, oh, Gold Mario. What the f***? There's a Gold Mario amiibo? And it's exclusive to Walmart? So yeah, I thought that was you know, that was kind of seen as like this golden goose amiibo. But of course it turned out Gold Mario wasn't the most rare thing in the world. There are definitely rarer, more expensive amiibo. These days you can probably pick Gold Mario up for like 40 bucks or something, which is still ridiculous for amiibo, but it's also like, you know, I thought one day I'm just like, yeah, alright, Gold Mario would be kind of fun to own. I didn't really pick up many of the Mario line of amiibo. I eventually picked up a few of them for our office, just so then we could get like B-roll of the figures. But in my personal collection, like I never really needed the Mario amiibo. I already have like the Mario characters in Smash Brothers form. Well, I think the Mario amiibo look nicer as like figures or toys or whatnot. I'm like, you know, yeah, I'm good with the Smash Brothers line. Silver Mario is stupider than Gold Mario, but I'm kind of like, I already have Gold Mario, I should probably get Silver Mario, of course. And then I have Chibi Robo in the box, because again, you know, I love me some Chibi Robo. I almost feel like I needed to get Chibi Robo in the box, and I think this version was interesting because, like I said, the version of Chibi Robo that came bundled with Ziplash had like this smaller condensed packaging. But this one is a full-sized amiibo box, and that's because this was like an exclusive Amazon re-release of the Chibi Robo amiibo. So that's kind of like an obscure version of that amiibo, which is interesting. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I have a couple of amiibo that are still kind of in the box on my shelf that are just there. Like, I have them, but, you know, I don't really think about them much. These right here, I have these, but I never really took them out. This is the Poochie amiibo that launched with Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World on 3DS. Never took him out of the packaging, but it's Poochie, which is fun. And I do like this amiibo, but yeah, I never took him out of the box. And the same with Box Boy. And this is like the rarest, stupidest, most expensive amiibo. So, no thank you. I'll keep that in the box. I did lie. I do technically have a Mario series amiibo here in my personal collection because it's this amiibo bundle of Mario Party 10. This was originally the only way you could get the Mario amiibo back when this launched, which was funny because it made the Mario amiibo one of the hardest to get back in the day. Like, this is like the amiibo. It's the Mario amiibo, and it was like the hardest to get at the time because it was exclusive to this damn bundle. And it released separately eventually, and it became like the most common amiibo you could really get. But then we also have this, which I think is interesting. So this is a GameStop exclusive like re-release of the amiibo that were included with Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival on Wii U. So it's Isabelle and Digby. And this is not a Nintendo released like package or anything. This is literally like a GameStop released thing. It was just them trying to like liquidate their giant stock of Amiibo Festival units. They're like, let's just rip the Amiibo out and let's just sell the Amiibo separately and let's just be like, oh, here's some Amiibo. And it's very interesting because like it has like a lot of Animal Crossing looking and feeling like insignia, but none of it is. It's like all stock art and everything, which is strange. But yeah, I might be missing something here or there, but for the most part, that is my amiibo collection. I think these are cool little figures, but I think it's really sad that it got to this point. Especially considering, I will openly admit, I don't care about a ton of these. But you know what? I do still kind of care about them. I like amiibo, and you know, I'm pretty okay with the amount that I have. We might downsize at some point, but for the most part, at least the Smash Brothers line, those I like these, except for like the third of them or so that I talk mad shit about. But I like them, I swear.